good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and thanks for joining our webinar today. It is on the top 5 tactics for mastering local consumer engagement at scale. A few housekeeping items before I get into the agenda. So today's webinar will be recorded, so you do not have to take rigorous notes. We will share the recording with all of you as a follow-up via email. If you do have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to put them into the webinar panel. We will either ask them throughout the webinar and answer them, or we will allow a time at the end of the webinar for some Q&A. So please do not be shy with any questions whatsoever. Feel free to ask them. And with that, I will go ahead and dive into the agenda. So first, you'll meet myself and my co-host here. We'll talk a little bit about consumer engagement and then dive really into the tangible tactics about getting the most out of local consumer engagement when it comes to managing your business digitally. So I am Crystal Tang. I oversee the solutions team here at Uberall, and I am going to introduce Ashley, who is a strategic partner manager at Google. Hi, Ashley. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. I do have to say, I have spent the last almost 2 weeks in London. I am back in San Diego now, but if a little accent may come out, I do apologize in advance. I've been talking with a lot of British folks over the last couple of weeks, but I've had the chance to spend a couple of weeks doing lots of fun stuff with Google as well in London. So I'm really excited about our partnership with Google and what we have to share with you today. So for anyone that doesn't know, Uberall is a location marketing platform, and really our goal is about helping multi-location brands show up, manage their data, and really convert customers in their time of need. And we do this through a number of different pillars within our platform and our solution set, everything from listings and reviews to location-based pages and website management, as well as messages, insights, analytics, and more. And so today we're really going to talk to you about the tactics to convert those customers and how you can leverage tools like Google and Uberall to do that at scale. Before we get started, I really think it's important to talk about why consumer engagement makes a difference when it comes to managing your business online. And I want to share a couple of stats with you. So when you think about customers that are shopping in their time of need, a large majority of them are likely going to begin their discovery on Google. That's why we have such an invested partnership with Google, because it means so much, not just to consumers, but for our brands that are managing their data there. Now, 46% of product searches start on Google. So this is someone that knows what they need. They may not have decided where they want to buy it or which brand they want to go forward, but they know the absolute product. And so going first to Google, leveraging not just your listing on Google, but things like social elements, maybe Google shopping ads, these can be videos, these can be photos. It becomes really influential whenever they're still in discovery mode. 46% of those product searches do start there. In addition, over 50% of clicks happen above the organic results on Google. So when you think about a Google search result, whether you're on desktop or you're on your cell phone, there's a lot going on. And I think to a consumer, you are just scanning the search result. But to a business, it's important to understand that you have opportunity in each of those areas to show potentially to customers. Those can be things through like paid ads. This can be Google shopping channels. This can be, YouTube video carousels. This could be Google business profile listings. This could be a map pack. There's so many opportunity to engage with a customer, and knowing that over half of clicks happen before they actually see the links to your website and to other organic sites is really important. That talks about driving your strategy. And then also, when you think about mobile searches, 30% of them are focused on the location. So if you're on your cell phone, you typically want to go somewhere. You're planning on driving somewhere or engaging with a service locally. And there's stats with I think with Google study that shows 76% of people who search for something nearby visit that business within a day. So it shows huge conversion opportunity. And that's why we're talking about making sure all of your information is correct, accurate, and ready for customers when they're about to make that decision. Again, 76% visit a business within a day once they do a local-based search. Now, just a few additional stats that I thought were interesting. 97% of consumers search online to find a local business or product to buy. So if you think about the way consumers are searching for brands or businesses, they want convenience, they want something now, they want something tangible. And if they've decided that I'm not going to wait for this to get delivered to my door, 97% of them are going to go to Google and say, I want a product or a service near me. They also say outside of those types of searches, 68%, most of their searches have some type of local intent. So even if they may not have decided that they're going to go to a business nearby, they still are considering it, even if they haven't decided. And again, once they've decided and found a potential business nearby, there's a huge likelihood that they're going to visit, and they're going to visit quickly. So as a business, it's important to understand, do they have all of the information in that moment to decide to choose you or to choose your product or your service over the other, potential competitors that are showing up in that search result? And that's really why we're talking about this all today. So to dive into the tactics, we're just going to start with the basics. This is something that I never get tired of talking about because it always grows in importance. It is about making sure the core elements of your information shows up to customers when they're ready to make a decision. Do they know when you're open? Do they know the products you sell? Do they know that this stuff is in stock? Do they think that you're a reputable business to engage with? Do they like the way that you respond and treat your customers online? Do they know what your parking looks like when it's going to get there? It's all of this type of stuff they need, that they actually can get that whenever they go to your Google business profile. And the reason why it's important to always make this part of your strategy is because this is an ever-changing landscape, both from what the consumers expect to see about your business when they do a search, but also the tools that you need to adopt and utilize in order to make this information available. And it's one of the things I love about Google is there's so much evolution. So I'd love, Ashley, if you can share a little bit about what Google is doing specifically on GDP listings to really help businesses provide more information, both contextually, but also visually on their GDP profiles.
Yeah, totally. And I like what you said about, I also never get tired of talking about the basics and the core. And it's not set it, forget it, you do it when you set up your profile. Your business is changing, and so this information should be reflected on Google as well, even though it is the core basic information. So as we've been talking about, the place on Google for any business to really tell the world who they are is really centralized in the business profile, or GBP for short. And so it's where businesses update and their address, website, phone number, photos. It's really their presence, your presence on Google. And our goal is to really help users then take this information, discover your amazing business, and then ultimately do something with it, right? Book a table, purchase a product, make an appointment, actually go into your business and drive revenue and result in a commerce transaction. And so if you don't have a business profile set up yet, you'll first have to claim and verify your business. There's actually now 5 available methods. So we've moved past the days of the postcard, if you're familiar with the process. And luckily, partners like Uberall really help with this and streamlining this. So we're really grateful for Uberall. And also, as we stated earlier, kind of the core business information. So your service areas, hours, description. If you have special hours for the holidays, like when it was July 4th season or that day, I was going to the grocery store on like July 3rd because we had that day off, and I went to the grocery store and it was closed. But they hadn't updated that information on Google. So we really try to rely on businesses to let us know when they're open and ready for business. And just as you would update your website or your social media to make sure that it represents you, tell your story on Google with not just the factual information that we've talked about, but also the brand information. Like, do you identify as Latino owned or Asian American owned? Or is the vibe of your restaurant really romantic or really trendy? What is it that you offer? Like, do you have a drive-through? Do you have wheelchair access? These attributes across Google help users find you and represent you as a business. So for instance, if I'm searching for haircut near me or woman's haircut near me, we're going to help match the users to businesses who we know offer those services and have indicated that in some way, some form on their business profile. And the key takeaway here is making sure that your business profile is complete, accurate, and up to date. Again, not a set it or forget it, but rather continuously updating, going through that health check and audit, because users are more likely to find your business reputable, to visit, and to purchase. So we see 7 times more clicks for businesses with a complete profile. There's a difference, right? If you see one profile with just like barely any information versus one that's fully filled out. 96% of customers are more likely to visit a business that displays the hours of operation, right? They want to see when they can come in, is it closing soon? And 90% of customers are more likely to visit a business that shows a phone number, right? They want to make sure they can call you, contact you, and reach you in some way.
That's a good point. I usually am not going to call a business, but it's important that I can if I need to.
Yes, yeah. And what we're really kind of encouraging, I feel like what's new is photos and videos. Users are not just searching by text, they're really searching visually, and they want to have an understand what the experience will be like before they actually go to a business. So is there like a custom mural on the wall that you want to show off? Or are you really proud of your interior design? Or like Crystal said, the parking lot outside. All these photos and videos help give a user an immediate sense of what it will be like to go and helps them actually decide to go to the business. So 90% of people are more likely to visit you if you have photos of the business. 42% more requests for directions, so they're going to figure out how to get there and go there. And 35% more clicks to the website for businesses with photos. So again, kind of people engage in a variety of different ways, whether they want to call, whether they want to go on the website, whether they want to go directly in. And the business profile is a way to hook them in to go in. And if you already have set up and verified your business, you'll be able to access directly within Google Search or Maps, or access it actually via the Uberall platform. And so with that, I'll turn back to Crystal.
Yes, that is a great point because I know plenty of businesses and brands, especially the ones listening today, probably don't have the time or resources to go one by one to update their listings in Google Business Profile, or even, they're doing it in places other than just Google. So that's where I think it's great about the sync that we have at Uberall. It is built and designed based on everything that Google has available. So the idea is that you as a business can leverage our platform to create that GBP profile, just as rich as you would if you were logging into Google directly. So adding your images and photos, all of your attributes, which change all the time. I think as Ashley was talking, it reminded me that I just saw a new attribute if you are a business that's disability owned. That's a new attribute that just rolled out in the last week that you can add. Just a couple of weeks ago, they added a dog-friendly one for restaurants as well. So there's a lot of change to keep up with. And if you've got more than a couple of locations, having a tool like Uberall where you can do it in a single place and we ensure that gets syncs to Google is really beneficial. And that way you can spend your time responding to reviews and doing all those other things. I will say from our perspective, there are a lot of benefits from doing even just the basics. It's not enough long term, but I wanted to share just some stats from one of our franchise brands that we work with. They've got over 2,000 locations globally, and they are experiencing a lot of rapid growth. So all of the types of things they're doing, they're like, this is great, but now we need to do this for another 1,000 locations in the next year, another 2,000 locations. So they've really leveraged Uberall to streamline this process while also maintaining some local elements. And with this, they saw a huge increase in search and map views just by syndicating accurate and complete data and building more compelling profiles. This is also one that we're happy to include in the follow-up as well. Now on to tip 2, which is something that is I think kind of growing in terms of popularity, but has been one of the most important elements of managing your profile digitally is all about social, engaging with your local community, building that brand voice, and ensuring that customers not just have the information, but they're learning more about your brand as well. Um, so when we think about what brands need to do to build that local voice, it's important to understand that customers want convenience and a retailer or a brand has a nearby advantage. So if they want to come and visit you, you have the benefit of hopefully having a business nearby that they can go in, pick up that product, feel how soft it is, talk to someone, maybe get some type of in-store promotion. That is really what's going to build and engage that consumer to make sure that they return, that they leave a review, that they talk about your product and business. So I think it's important to understand while a lot of brands might have this national strategy, this national approach, that there's a huge competitive advantages by tapping into that local market and understanding how to adapt. And then also make sure that that's, easily understood with your listings, that they know what time they can access the store, maybe using things like social posts that are going to highlight events that are in store that make it a little bit more engaging. It's really about understanding that the consumer wants to come in and they want to experience something. And really, I think as a brand, understanding how to then adapt that and make that very known on your business profile is important. Um, this is also, I think, one of the areas that Google's done a ton of development in terms of making it easier for businesses to promote more than just basic information, but really building out the experience, the social elements of their locations. I'd love to hear a little bit more, Ashley, in terms of some of the enhancements here from Google.
Yeah. Um, admittedly, like when I first started working this, I was like, oh, where are the posts show up? And then once I started looking at them, I saw them in a lot more places than just the business profile. And so for me, I love going to in-person events or figuring out what the local new special is. And there's like the new pop-up happening. I love going to these local events. It's like a really fun way to do something different, plan date night for my partner and I. And so or at Google, you can use business posts to keep customers up to date on events and deals. 50% of customers actually look for promotions or discounts when searching for a business online, like I had mentioned earlier. And so business posts show up in your business profile, but they also actually show up on the Maps feed. So if you open up your mobile app, you can actually see a feed and it will kind of show all the local posts from my owners as well as like reviews and whatnot from other users. So it's a great way to see what's happening. There's also a new feature that brings together reviews, community voices, and posts to really help inspire users on how to visit locations. And this is happening across multiple verticals. So whether it be hotels, restaurant, activities, retail, beauty, all businesses have an opportunity to showcase what's unique to them, what's new.
Yeah, I was going to say if you are a business owner or a manager, someone that's, representing businesses online, one of the most important things to do is like take out your cell phone and do a search and find businesses and just look at that experience. Because when you're in GDP or you're in the Uberall platform or a platform like it and you're managing data, sometimes you may not understand the output that a consumer sees. So I think making sure you see that experience, see all the opportunity is really impactful in terms of understanding what you can represent to the customers.
Yeah, completely agree with that. And as we talked about earlier, Google search experiences are becoming very visually forward. So photos and videos tell the story of your business. I think if you also are using short form video on other platforms, you can actually upload those directly into your Google business profile, and those get featured pretty prominently on the more like mosaic banner that we rolled out that combines a bunch of photos and videos. It actually kind of looks like the screen to the right where it's like different photos clustered together. And no matter what vertical you're in, actually, let me caveat that. Maybe if I'm certain businesses, imagery doesn't matter so much, so I'm not going to say it matters for everybody. But for the most part, photos and videos are quite relevant to local businesses. We recently rolled out also the ability to add social media profiles directly to your Google Business profile. So if I'm in there, then it will feature profiles you can add up to 5 to 7, depending on the platform. And from there, you just can click directly and find more information on your Instagram page, Facebook page, Twitter page, etc.
Yeah, and the great thing here, especially for multi-location brands, is if you do have unique, Facebook pages, for example, for each of your locations, now you have the ability to set these by location as well. And I think it will display up to 5. I think there's 9 different social profiles you can add. But if you want to highlight your TikTok or other accounts like that, those can all be linked here. I think that's great. Again, if we're thinking about maybe Gen Z searchers, like they really probably care more about social than the organic search experience, this is going to be really impactful to different sets of consumers.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is that, to your point, people search differently, right? Some might actually discover on a social platform like Instagram and then come to Google, or they come to Google and then they go elsewhere. And so making sure that users have that option and are really easily connected to all your whole online presence in one place. And so we recommend the same. If you're on your social, link back to Google and vice versa.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I wanted to share an example because I think it's easy for someone that's working at HQ of a national brand be like, I don't know how to apply local elements from where I sit. And I think a really great example of that is like grocery stores or supermarkets. If you've been to your local grocery store, especially if it's like even a regional chain. There's typically elements of that store that are, blanket across the board, no matter what store you go to, it's there. But then there's also local elements. And I think they do a really great job of this. So I haven't been to a grocery store that doesn't have some type of local area that's talking about the community. Maybe my local Vons right now is participating in a local food drive. So they have areas where they're talking about which program you're going to support there and other areas, or it could be Girl Scouts selling cookies for the local school. They always do a really good job of bringing in that local feeling despite being a big box chain retailer. So if you're ever looking for inspirations, I think grocery store chains in general and supermarkets do a really good job of blending these. Now just adapting that and taking that to your GBP profile, to your listings online, to your website, is how do you create that kind of local community board that you see in store on your listing and using that as inspiration. Another example from a social aspect, I just wanted to share, one of our clients at Uberall is Daniel's Jewelers, and they do this really big promo on 1-day sales. And so they've been really unique. If you haven't happened to see them before, they're doing this on Facebook, on Google, on a lot of places where they use social to draw a lot of buzz the day before and the day after these 1-day sales. And it really pays off because they're able to get a lot higher in-store traffic when they're leveraging their Google posts, their Facebook ads, their Google ads to say like, this store nearby you is going to have a sale tomorrow or is going to have a promotion tomorrow. And it draws a lot of buzz. So when you're thinking about how can I, as a multi-location brand, leverage social from a local aspect, I think one of the things they say is it's not only drawing buzz within the community, but it also gives their customers something to get excited for in the future. And so they keep waiting for this information to come back to them. And it's been quite a unique experience. Again, they're able to leverage a platform like Uberall where they want to do this really big campaign, but hyper localized. So they need some type of scalability. So we're able to say, okay, this is the strategy that they're going to apply to each store. And this is how we're going to scale it. So it doesn't take a ton of resources. But that's quite an interesting use case we wanted to share. Now on to tip 3, the power of feedback. We wanted to talk all about reviews, not just getting reviews, not just responding to them, but understanding, how to leverage these broader within your business. I think that's important too, because there's so many times I talk to businesses where they're just thinking about getting reviews. That's it. And I'm like, that's not even, in my opinion, the most important part. Like, I want to know what they're saying. What are they telling me about what customers think about me, what they think about my products, what they think about our services, and how they're going to talk to their friends about us. So I think there's so much value in your reviews and your review content. Um, a few important stats. 90% of consumers read online reviews before visiting a business. I do it 100% of the time. There's never a time I'm going to go somewhere that I don't read a review first. And it's also important that a large part of consumers, 86%, prefer businesses that respond. This is why it's important to have a response strategy. At least do something to engage with those users so that other future customers have an idea a little bit more about your business. And then we also show in our study from Uberall is that if you are able to improve your star rating even 0.1%, this can result in up to 25% increase in foot traffic. So there's a reason why, reviews are important, not just for ranking, not just to get information, but ultimately to drive more value with customers. Now, I know that Google takes reviews very seriously as well. And I think the same thing here as that we've seen with the other areas. There's been a lot of investment and changes from Google in terms of how businesses can respond, engage with customers. Ashley, if you wanted to kind of share a little bit about what Google's focused on.
Yeah, it's so fun to hear like someone else talk about our Google product experience and hear from Crystal. Crystal's been a product expert for a part of our product expert community for quite a while now, actually. She's like superstar at Google. But I'm excited because this year we actually have had a lot of exciting new changes, which is why it's fun talking to businesses about them and really evangelizing our product. And as you said, feedback can look differently and show up in different forms in the business profile. So it is reviews. It's also the FAQ section, the question and answer section. So if there's commonly FAQs that customers are asking, like what's the wait time, or what does this look like, or do you offer these services? You can actually just add those directly as an FAQ on the profile and get ahead of a lot of customer questions. You can also connect in real time with business messages. So they want to message you directly to the profile. Maybe you don't call the business like Crystal mentioned earlier, but you want to message them. You can do so with business messages. That's also a way to get feedback real time. And then of course the reviews. And so those help your star rating and figure out what that rating will be. I also want to add here that it also is very useful for discovery. So we use many different factors to determine how a business will show up. Reviews are a big part of that. The actual text that users are saying about your business, things that they're mentioning, that's going to help their discoverability on Google. And I'm really excited I was actually just reading about Uberall's new feature about the sentiment analysis. So Crystal.
Awesome. So I think, like I mentioned, one of the things at Uberall, of course, we want to make sure that you have a tool that makes it easy to just get reviews, respond to reviews at scale. So whether it's reviews, whether it's your Q&A on Google, whether it's messages, bringing it all into a single interface so your brands and businesses can see and respond all at once. We want to make sure that's easy, but we don't want to stop there. So understanding the sentiment behind the review, not just if you got a 5-star rating or a 4 or a 1-star rating and what they said, but when you actually break down the text of that, there's so much to understand about how consumers understand and engage with you. So this is where I think Uberall sentiment analysis really makes a difference in businesses, because what we do is we break down the review and then we categorize each section. This part of the review is about your service, and they actually gave you 5 stars on that. However, they had a negative comment about your price. So while the overall review is 3 stars, that doesn't actually tell the entire story. So as a business, if you're looking to go deeper and understand more value, I think sentiment analysis is really important. And then the other thing too is, yes, Google is where you're going to get the lion's share of your reviews, but even Google knows that there are other places that users are getting feedback. And we've seen this in a number of industries, like specifically if you go to hotel searches, you will see that Google aggregates reviews from other sites. And this has started to show up in some other industries. So there's an example here. It's a service-based business, and you'll see that they're pulling in reviews from other places. So making sure that you've got a place where you can see all of your reviews, respond to all of your reviews, and understand what that sentiment is across all of them is really impactful, and that's what we're focused on at Uberall. I think this is also something to be aware of, that if Google is pulling in reviews from other sites, which one should you be paying attention to? So if you haven't seen this or you haven't checked your listings, specifically if you're like a hotel or in the service industry, I definitely recommend taking a look at your profile on Google to see where they're pulling some other reviews from. So not just getting reviews, but also understanding how to respond. I know for most brands, this can be very daunting, especially if you're in a high service industry, meaning you're probably going to get dozens or hundreds of reviews sometimes per day. And you're like, okay, what do I need to do? Hire an entire team to respond to reviews. And I think it's important to understand that that doesn't have to be the case, but you should take reviews seriously. So I think at Uberall, what we're doing is trying to balance the scale. We don't want just, a bunch of robots responding to reviews. We do want humans responding to reviews, but we want to build scalable processes. So we've layered in some templates and AI and elements to make this as easy as possible, so you still get the most out of it. And this way you can respond to all reviews, not just negative ones. You can understand that there can be inconsistency between locations and how users respond. Like if you were just responding to negative reviews and not positive ones because you're stretched for resources, you might have stores that don't get many negative reviews, which means you have an inconsistent response to different stores based on that strategy. That's not good for consumers. Google definitely doesn't want to see that. They want to see you taking reviews seriously across all your locations. So if you can leverage automation and tools and scalability, that's really going to give you the most out of a really strong review strategy. But I will say reviews are something that is so much more important than just reading, responding, and understanding the content of there ultimately to improve your business processes. Our next tip is all about understanding your industry. And I think it was really funny when Ashley said it earlier about like photos are great for every industry. And it's like, oh, well, there might be some where I really don't need to see a photo. And understanding where your business operates and how to prioritize those strategies based on that is really important. So of course, if you're a restaurant, you need to have a menu, you need to make it easy to book a reservation with you. If you're a hotel, absolutely, I want to know, what is the price of my room? Is there availability? And when can I book? Different industries are going to be unique, which means you as an organization are going to have to prioritize slightly differently. And again, I think Google's really done a great job in terms of building unique experiences for the consumer on their journey to put the things that are most important to them at the top based on industry. And I think, Ashley, you're going to share a couple of these examples.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll give you a preview of what's at the end of this, but we do actually have a wonderful cheat sheet of all the top things that you need per vertical. Starting out with hotels, I think the main here is people want to book a room. I was just actually making a reservation for a hotel booking for an upcoming trip, and that's what people want to do. They go to hotels, they want to book a room. So we want to show that very prominently, and also making sure that we show real-time rates and availability to make sure that new customers can make a reservation for their upcoming stay. Similarly, for restaurants, users want to get food. So making sure that your profile is set up to accept online food orders or online reservations and waitlist requests. And this is because 80% of US customers expect to be able to do these actions online. And before they actually get to the online food ordering reservations, oftentimes they use a menu to help them decide, is this the restaurant that I want to go to? Do these dishes look yummy? Is this the cuisine I'm looking for? Is there a standout menu highlight that is a season limited time offer? So for restaurants, making sure that we have the menu and actions. And then for services like hair salon, plumbing, fitness, auto repair, making sure that there are services fees. So again, if I'm searching for a woman's haircut, I want to know if my local hair salon actually offers that service. So making sure that the services feed is there, pricing, description, because this is going to lead to a customer booking. So kind of tying it full circle. If you recall at the very beginning, I said, yes, we want all this information on business profile, but the goal of it is to actually get people in your door and transacting. And all of these actionable steps, actionable links are helping users do that. And then lastly, for attractions, like things to do, updating your ticket pricing directly in your Google business profile. So we have a quote here from the Georgia Aquarium where they're using the ticket editor to make sure that they have the prices, the actual ticket experience, and the ability to book that ticket directly from the business profile. So here is your cheat sheet. So for restaurants, we have all the information that we talked about before: menus, online ordering, online reservations, dining options, attributes and operating hours. Like Crystal mentioned, we just recently added dog friendly. And for services, it's the service offerings, operating hours, appointment booking, if you offer online or on-site appointments. That was really, came out with COVID, people offering really virtual appointments. And then as well other attributes. So if you're accepting new patients, for example. And then for hotels, booking links, amenity options, like do you offer a breakfast buffet, different types of amenities, dining options, any activities, and a language assistant attributes. So a lot of these attributes across these businesses we've been rolling out as we've been seeing changing user behavior. I actually love always going onto Google Trends and seeing what users are searching, and oftentimes that kind of indicates to you how user behavior is changing. I think I recently came up, it was, I follow this Google Trends newsletter, which I had, it's like my new social media. I really enjoy it. I didn't even know what girl dinner was until I followed it on Google.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, this is a new thing. I'm clearly not following social media enough, so Google Trends tells me what people are searching.
That's so funny. That's so funny. I get it as well, but I think girl dinner, I definitely knew what that was.
Yeah, I was a little late to the trend.
It's funny because that's important to businesses. Like if you are a grocery store and you're running out of ideas for your social posts, like if you are not promoting, a charcuterie board to put together for girl dinner, you're really missing out on that one.
Yeah.
So that's it. And I said that as well. So whenever Google releases new attributes, I'm like, they're not just picking these out of the sky. They're doing it because they have access to a ton of consumer behavior data, and they know they get enough searches for this particular element about a business. Do you have patio seating? Because a lot of people, yes, it's post-COVID, but they still want to sit outdoors. That now needs to be a feature and function of the business. So attributes are definitely quite unique. They are unique by every category, and they change all the time. So this is one that, like, I typically tell businesses sometimes looking at it once a quarter is not enough, but just making sure that you have the most relevant ones available to your businesses. So when they're ready to make a decision, they have all the information. Awesome. All right. And last but not least is really about learning from what you're doing and rinsing and repeating and refining. So understanding that the goal is to get customers. You want them in your store, you want them to make a purchase, you want to make more money. And I think it's quite interesting because when you think about some of the most successful companies, they make purchasing so easy. Like if I can go on this website and I can buy something almost by accident because it's so easy because it just takes one click, that ultimately should be your goal is how quickly can I get a customer to convert, and where am I losing them potentially along that journey? And that gives you guys some ideas about how to optimize and strategize. And then also just learning about what they want, what they're interested in, what content are they engaged with. So really without having some really strong analytics, none of these strategies or tactics are really going to be impactful, because you want to see where you should be focused on. And again, just like, we've been saying all day, Google's been making a ton of enhancements in this area. Most recently with one of the biggest changes, I think, to insights we've seen since the launch of Google Business Profile GMB in the last couple of years with their performance insights.
Yeah, and I have I have businesses asking me all the time, okay, these are a lot of things. Like I don't have time to do all these. I completely recognize that as a chain owner, as a business owner, you don't have time to necessarily do this every single day. And there's a lot of things. I am not sugarcoating that. But then business asks me, okay, which one's the best? What is the one that will work? And I can say generally like photos may make an impact. But that being said, it's so different depending on every business type, on every consumer. And so this is where we want to give you the tools to determine this yourself. And you figure out of all this work, what is actually driving your searches, your views, your interactions with buttons that you want users to interact with. Are you a restaurant and you want people to interact with your interactions more? Are you a local business and you're hoping that people are requesting for directions or calling you? So there are a variety of performance metrics that are available from Google, and you can view in your profile. But what I like more is that Uberall brings it all together for you really easily in the Uberall platform.
Yes. So one of the things that I think has been really important is there's been a lot of metrics that have changed over the last year-ish with Google for the right reasons. So one of the questions we get most prominently is about views. Google made a really big change to how they count and report on views in the last couple of months. And so a lot of businesses think they're not getting as many views on Google, but they are. And so what we've done is collated all this information in the platform and put it alongside all of this data to make it really, really rich and tangible. Um, this is in addition to keywords, feedback, your messages, all of the information you're getting from Google. You can get it in a single place in Uberall. You can slice it by location. You can see trends over time and that kind of thing. So understanding your analytics and what's working for you, making sure you have that easy path to purchase, and then you're tracking those purchases makes it really easy to understand where you should be focusing your time. Now you can see things like your clicks to booking, your appointment URLs, how many people are viewing your menu. So it tells you when you should be investing time. I was going to say, Ashley, are there any particular metrics from the Google Performance or Insights dashboard um, that you've seen maybe some of the most impact for businesses?
Yeah.
Whether it's maybe some of the new clicking ones or the search keywords, any unique use cases?
Yeah, I was actually just going to chime in on this. I think search keywords is very interesting. I actually came from the ads side of our business too, where for that one we were bidding on keywords. But the organic side is really interesting to see how people are getting to. It's literally what users are searching to find your business. And so there's two things that I want to call out here. Number one is similar to what we were talking about with Google Trends, is seeing what people are searching. Are they finding you because they're interested in a specific dish that you have or a specific service that you have or an attribute? If that's something that they're searching, then incorporating that actually into your marketing and leaning into that more. Or on the flip side, is there something that you want people to be searching, but it's not coming up? People aren't really, that's not really your brand. So that's the first thing I'd mention. And the second thing is kind of seeing the difference between the more location specific searches. So say, searching my brand name versus non-branded terms or categorical terms, and seeing like, are people just finding me because they know who I am and they're coming back time and time again? Or is it actually new customers that they discovered me because they were looking for something else? So I really like the search keywords because it has a big tie to also your marketing and your brand.
I cannot agree enough. I think search keywords, oftentimes you can see lots of competitors that people may have searched as well. So understanding, especially from a local perspective, I think if you're at HQ, you know all of your national competitors, you know your large competitors, but understanding if someone found you when they were searching for another brand nearby, and then I think to your point as well, You might even see some unique products in there, like a very specific product line or category that you are already ranking for. Technically, someone used it and found you, and you're not doing any promotion. That's pretty low hanging fruit when it's like, we already got eyeballs, we've got customers that are interested in us because of this. Let's optimize that. So they're incredibly, interesting. I do think, again, it's one of those things that, like, you don't have to do this every day. I think the data is only refreshed once every 30 days. But when you're looking at those quarterly, analysis, trying to understand where do we focus our time to get the most out of what we're doing online, understanding how customers see and view you is really important. And the information that you're going to get from the Google Business Profile Insights is really valuable. All right, that brings us to the wrap up of the webinar. I think we really flew through that, but just to recap, the things that businesses should be focused on to understand and really convert the most amount of customers whenever they are engaged with your information is the basics. Again, mine and Ashley's favorite. I don't think that's changing anytime soon, but making sure that you just got the core information there. You're tapping into your social. You are building that brand voice from a digital perspective. You're using the feedback that the customers are giving you. You're asking for that feedback, and then you're applying it to your business, to your processes, and understanding really how consumers view you. You also know that what is unique for your industry, and what you should be applying and focusing on based on that. So again, not one size fits all. It's not the same across the board. And even within industries, there are unique niches as well. So understanding what customers need from your business and then applying that is important. And then, of course, measuring. That is one of the most important ones, in my opinion, is understanding what's working, what's not, and where to pivot. And really making sure that you can see the success of all the work you're putting into your managing your digital presence. And of course, all of this can be done with Overall, which is great. And a huge element of that is making sure that, all of this is available to businesses, to your business profile on Google. Anything you wanted to add to that, Ashley?
No, I think that really got covered. We covered a lot. So.
Awesome. I know we're right over time. We're trying to keep you guys for the 45 minutes here, but I did want to see if there are any questions from the audience. I'm not sure if any came in throughout the webinar, but if you do happen to have any questions whatsoever, feel free to put them into the chat and we will answer them. If we don't have time today, we always can follow up via email as well. But also, thank you, Ashley, so much for joining me. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you for having me.